Good evening. Welcome to the University of Maine for the second event in the series, Framing Maine, Conversations with Storytellers and Image Makers from the Pine Tree State. My name is Craig Ettinger. I'm the director of the Maine Studies program here and the Maine Folklife Center and the organizer of this series. Tonight we welcome folk singer and songwriter David Mallett, who will perform with his quartet and then be interviewed by News Center Maine's Rob Caldwell. So thank you all for coming tonight. Before we begin, and before I tell you a little bit more about David, I'd like to introduce Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost at the University of Maine, Dr. Jeffrey Hecker, to welcome you all to our campus and Minsky Recital Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening and welcome. We're really thrilled to have you here. I'm very excited about this evening. I know it will be very entertaining and very interesting. You all know that David Mallett is an alum of the University of Maine, but he actually has 2 degrees from the university. In 2014, we honored him with an honorary doctorate of humane letters. So it's Dr. Mallett and his band who are here tonight. It was great. I was thinking back about that recently. It was a great event when we did the graduation, and he was honored. He also gave the commencement address. Now, having made a career like mine in academia, I have seen many commencement addresses, and I remember his. And I cannot say that about very many of these many addresses that I've seen. His was great because most of it he sang. And it was really wonderful. But he did make a few comments as well about his time and his experiences here at the university. And I'd be lying if I tell you I remember it all, but I do remember one of the comments that he made, which was talking about his time and his experience. He said, I didn't go to class very much. I was thinking about that. Actually just this week, knowing this was coming up and remembering his address. I was at a meeting this week down near D.C. at George Mason University, and there was a bunch of people like me with jobs like mine. And anyway, we're talking, and they were talking about this new book that a George Mason professor has just published. It came out in January of this year, and it's called The Case Against Education. And the subtitle is Why Our Education System is a Waste of Time and Money. So I think, well, gee, that's interesting. So thanks to American Airlines, I had a ton of time to kill in Washington. So I spent some time looking up this book. I won't try to lie to you and say I read it, but I did what a lot of students did, which was find out as much as I could on the internet about this book. And I read some synopsis of it, and I even saw some interviews with the author, whose name is Brian Kaplan, professor of economics. And Professor Kaplan, as I could discern, his basic point is that universities are our education system, but he was pretty pointed toward universities, that really what happens in the classroom isn't really important. And that really all they are is a really way of weeding people out. And that his main thesis, as I could gather, is that what they do is they select people who are intelligent or reasonably intelligent, who have a work ethic and can figure out how to work hard and manage their time, and who can follow rules. They learn how to do things like get papers in on time and go to class and fill out your FAFSA. And that really all universities are places for this to occur. And who comes out the other end are people who can do that, or are reasonably intelligent, have a good work ethic, and who can follow rules. And that's what universities do. It's not inspiring anyone. It's really weeding people out. And people who have these characteristics are going to be successful in the workplace. They work hard, they're pretty smart, and they can follow the rules. Not a very inspiring vision about higher education in the United States. So I was very interested in this, and actually at the conference I talked to the president of George Mason, and I said, gee, is Professor Kaplan going to be here? It'd be interesting to hear about his thoughts. He said, no, he's away. He's taking his daughter out to see university. She's going to be going to university soon. But I think that says something. I think Dr. Kaplan, I would have liked to have met him, but I think it says something about the problem with his thesis in his book, at least from my point of view, which is that if you look at universities as really a way to produce people who are workers, to put out worker bees, there probably is a lot to his thesis. But of course, universities are much more than that. Universities are about producing new knowledge. Universities are about challenging people. They're about creating opportunities for people to think creatively and in different ways. And public universities like ours, the University of Maine, have a very important role, and that is to serve the state that supports us, and to serve the people of Maine. And of course, we do that, and public universities throughout the United States do that in a variety of ways, helping our states to grow economically, enriching the culture of our states. And one way I think that universities serve their states is by being a lens through which you can look at the state and say, what does it mean to be, in our case, from Maine? What does it mean to be a Mainer, or what is the culture of Maine all about? And you can try to understand that in a variety of ways. And one of the signature ways here at the University of Maine that we have this great legacy about is through learning about our culture through storytelling. And that can be attributed to Sandy Ives, who I think many of you know the name. Professor Ives started the Maine Folklife Center that Craig now directs, and he collected the stories of Maine people. He went to talk with lumbermen and fishermen and people out there working, and collected their stories. And he was particularly intrigued by stories that were told through music and through songs. And so I think he would be particularly pleased about tonight's, the person we're honoring and recognizing and learning more about tonight, David Mallett, who really is a quintessential Maine storyteller. So let me just close by thanking Craig for organizing this, and this is really his brainchild, and I think it's a wonderful thing that he does, that he's put together for the university and for our community. Thank Dr. Mallett, and thank Rob Caldwell, who you'll meet later, who's going to help us with the interview. So thank you very much, and enjoy the evening.
Thanks very much, Provost Hecker. I think what Jeff talked about is absolutely true. I sent a text message with a little bit of video clip from the sound check tonight, earlier this evening, to my wife, and I said, I really do have a great job. And I can understand why Sandy Ives was so intrigued by music and how it played a role in telling stories. The purpose of this series, and there is an academic side to it, I assure you, Provost Hecker, is to bring into this campus people who have made a significant mark on the way that Maine is perceived, both by people who live here and by those from away, and to converse with them and to explore what it is about Maine that inspires them and how they want to present that through whatever their craft or their medium might be. So this is the second of the series. We had Bill Green last fall for our inaugural event, and I'll talk a little bit more this evening about who we're planning for next year. But I think it's a series that's shaping up, and I think tonight's will be evidence of that, to be really special events that allow us to both hear from and enjoy the creative side of these individuals, and then also probe deeper into what it is that makes them tick and how it is that they explore Maine as a very special place. Tonight's featured guest is well known, as Jeff said, as a teller of Maine stories through the art of song. Born and raised in what is now known as the Maine Highlands, David Mallett has been writing and singing about his home state for some 55 years. His professional musical career, as some of you know, because you mentioned it to me earlier this evening, began at about age 11 when he was playing in a duo with his older brother Neil as the original Mallett brothers. A turning point in his career came in 1975 when he was introduced to Noel Paul Stuckey, and many of you know him of Peter, Paul, and Mary fame. Noel produced David's first 3 albums, and he introduced his song, which has become a worldwide classic, the Garden Song, to Pete Seeger and to the rest of the folk world for that matter. Like many of David's songs, the Garden Song is a very human story told in a deceptively simple way. It promises hard work and faith in return for the gift of food from the good earth. David's recorded 17 albums, written hundreds of songs, including during a stint in Nashville. Many of them have been recorded by artists like Emmylou Harris and Alison Krauss and others who I'm sure you know. Many of his songs are also about Maine and Maine's natural landscape and cultural landscape, and it's from those songs that David selected some of his favorites to perform for us tonight. Before I turn it over to David and the band who are waiting in the wings, I just wanted to read a few lines from an email I received yesterday from Sarah Ives Lewis, the daughter of Sandy and Bobby Ives. I had invited her and her family to this event, but they were unable to make it, but she sent me a very nice email. Sandy, as Jeff mentioned, as many of you know, was a longtime professor of anthropology and folklore here at the university. To excerpt just a little bit from Sarah's email, quote, "I know that Sandy was very fond of David and his wife Janie and would be very pleased that he is still making songs. We regularly play some of his music for Bobby when we visit her in Orono. I was the Ives kid that ran off to California where I lived for some 30 years. There were many homesick times when I found that I could fly my way back home on the wings of a Dave Mallett tune. In some ways I still can do that, although now happily I do it from Belfast, Maine." I think Sarah's comment reflects why David Mallett is such a perfect artist to feature as our second Framing Maine speaker and performer. His songs have captured the essence of Maine in musical form, allowing listeners to dream of, reminisce about, or long for places that they miss or have never seen. He takes us on journeys of emotion and imagery, of memory and imagination, to places of both song and story. It is my pleasure to introduce the second artist in the Framing Maine series, along with his quartet, Dr. David Mallett.
I knew this place, I knew it well, every sound and every smell. Every time I walked, I fell for the first 2 years or so. There across the grassy yard, I, a young boy running hard, brown and bruised and battle-scarred and lost in the sweet illusion. From my window, I can see the fingers of an ancient tree, reaching out, it calls to me climb its early branches. But all my climbing days are gone, and these tired legs I'm standing on, but scarcely dare to leave the spot upon which I'm standing. And I remember every word from every voice I ever heard, every frog and every bird. Yes, this is where it starts. My father's laugh, the sighing wind. This is where my life begins. This is where I learned to use my hands and hear my heart. And this house is all that carries on like lyrics to an old-time song. Always changed but never gone. This house can stand the seasons. Our lives pass on from door to door, dust across the wooden floor. Rain and from the moor, we need no other reason. And all these thoughts come back to me like ships across a friendly sea, like breezes blowing endlessly, like rivers running deep. The day is done, the lights are low, and the wheels of life are turning slow. And as these visions turn and go, I lay me down to sleep. I knew this place, I knew it well, every sound and every smell. Every time I walked, I fell for the first 2 years or so. The day is done, the lights are low, and the wheels of life are turning slow. And as these visions turn and go, I lay me down to sleep. rumbling in the distance far behind me. A dime across the counter, then shy hello, brand new friend to walk along the street in the wintry weather. Oh, light an open door, welcome friend, there's room for more than they're standing there inside. Said I've heard that tune before, somewhere, but I can't remember when. Was it on some other friendly shore? Did you hear it on the wind? Was it written on the sky above? Heard it from someone I love, but I never heard a sound so sweet since then. Caught up in the magic of her smile. The heart beside him went and off across the floor. His clumsy body was full of joy. Said there's magic in the fiddler's arm, and there's magic in this town. There's magic in the dancer's feet, where they come down. People smile and they were wearing silver rings, locks of hair, and laughter with old Susan around. Make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. And inch by inch and row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rains come tumbling down. Picking stones, man is made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time seas. Someone warned them from below till the rains come tumbling down. And plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. An old crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. And in my garden I'm as free as that feathered thief up there. Help me out here. Inch by inch, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds. Someone warm them from below till the rains tumble. Thank you. Roy Clark on the piano over there. Roy Clark. Come. Roy's from Westbrook, Southern Maine. Good to have you up here. You played this room before? I never have either. Mike Burd on the bass right there. Mike's from Farmington area. Mike and I have been playing together for 35 years. 37. Wow. What was I thinking? 36, 37 years. And Susan Ramsey on the violin and viola. Anyway, that last song I wrote about 5 miles from here. And the song before that I wrote on campus. At what used to be the Ram's Horn, remember that? I used to write songs there. I go to the city and I take a look around, try and deal with all them random forces. And then I get my money and I put the hammer down, go back to the land of dogs and horses. I've been a traveling man almost all my life. I belong to my family in some verses. Now I'm heading down the road and my hair's turning gray. You're in this land of dogs and horses, living in the land, living in the land of dogs and horses. Job when I was young, I guess it didn't last too long. A woman who made all the dumb guys bosses. I hit the road, travel on, singing them old country songs, here in this land of dogs and horses. And up on exit 69, there used to be a town. Now it's just a strip mall and some crossings. I always take the old road just to look around. You're in this land of dogs and horses. Some men spend their time on earth trying to make a buck. Some just sit around and count their losses. The only time I'm winning, man, is when I live my dream. Cruising through this land of dogs and horses. I know somewhere in the city there's a man whiskey to our dear departed friends, and the last sleep beneath the mosses, shiver at the weather around, but in this land of dogs and horses, living in the land of dogs and horses. I've no idea how it all came to pass, but all this noise, only a bit will last. Words that fall soft on the road, you remember all those, and as you grow old, it just stays in a place in your mind, like a tune from an innocent time. When I first heard those lines, life was wide open, oh how the sun did shine, and I was wide-eyed at night. I thought all I needed was a Saturday night and a pair of shoes that shine, and a tune from an innocent time. Slipping in. How it all came down. It seems like I spent my whole life riding around and a guitar in a fan, doing all I can just to conjure up something that resembles an opening line of a tune from an innocent time. Midnight on the water, Sunday on the lake, a beaver or an otter steals across a moonlit break, and foolish moth undaunted by the screen upon the door bumps his head and instead of leaving comes on back through the door. Choruses of cricket sounds, the car across the way, the dark of night and the colors down, fond memories of the day, and potted plants and the dance of sweet ferns shuffle by the breeze, the shadow of a bat swing in the shelter of the tree. Northern lights that flicker with her chairs out on the lawn, a cool night in the summer and a still before the dawn, and with smoke from the campfire drifting slowly to the sky, the shimmer of a school of white perch, the spark of firefly. Midnight on the water, sand and cedar air, a quiet place, your suntan face, summer in your hair, low sea floats and wild oats growing sweet beside the spring. Midnight on the water and the owl is on the wing.
Lovely.
Who wrote that? Was a hell of a winter, wasn't it, man? I don't know if I got another one in me. I'd like to go to sleep, you know. You could do that, I guess. Get frozen or something. 10 men in black hats got together one night. Time to get the whole thing while the getting's right. 10 men in black hats in a shack on the edge of town. You might think I'm crazy, but that's where the deal went down. 10 men with big hands and eyes full of blood had the steel to make that deal in the drizzle of the mud. The air smelled like kerosene, there was a shotgun standing by. The only light in the whole damn room was a gleam of the 10 men's eye. 10 men in black hats in a cold light. 10 black cars are idling in the glow of the red tail light. 10 men with black hearts cutting up the spoils. Down in a tall tree who was hopping into a one man got the silver, one man got the gold. One said I don't want nothing, I just don't never grow. One said I get the water, he said they need it everywhere. One said I get all the messages people send out through the air. They divvied up the green grass, they divvied up the soul. One man got all the iron ore and another man got all the gold. One said I get the people, they all work for me. Another his little brother said I get all the fishes in the sea. Men in black hats with faces cold and hard said this is good for everyone. Somebody gotta take charge. And they all let their stogies and the tip back in their chair. 10 men in black hats, sure there. 10 men in black hats got together one night. Time to get the whole damn thing while the getting's right. 10 men in black hats in a shack on the edge of town. You might think I'm crazy, but it's where the deed went down. Aurora Borealis, you were never moving midnight dawn above me. And I see fire softly blowing, flickering candle flame of hope and hearth before me. And the world will turn and passions churn and stars may burn and split the sky beyond me. But I've been given northern lights that flash and shine and help me on my way. Oh, thunder, ancient drummer, to the summer wind and bearer of dark morning. Oh, leaves that speak in whispers, ever growing, ever dying, ever falling. There are secrets in the air, the fields are heavy with the sadness of the season. But I've been given northern lights that flash and shine and help me on my way. Silent river, moving slowly down the canyons of forever. Oh, birds that move above me with your silent wings so swift beneath this moonlight. And I'm akin to all I see here, I'm a creature of these trees upon this hillside. And I've been given northern lights that flash and shine and help me on my way. probably know, and we write songs together. We write tunes together when I can catch them. Help me on this one. Sometimes you just don't feel like trying. Too many politicians lying, too many hungry babies crying, too many random bullets flying, too much time spent in the struggle, too many little kids in trouble, too many cities gone to rubble, too many people talking double. This can't be our destination, this could be a better nation. Time to set the big horse race, trains are leaving from the station. I got no reservation, this could be celebration, this could be celebration now. Situations changing fast. Too much plastic, too much trash. Too many smokestacks spewing ash. Too many people with no cash. Too much waste, not enough water. Too many abandoned sons and daughters. Too many lost and hopeless schools. Too many go down shady. This can't be our destination. This could be a better nation. Time to set the big horse race. Trains are leaving from the station. I got no reservation. This could be celebration. This could be celebration now. Too many people looking down. Too many closed up factory towns. Too much high price propaganda. Too much sadness in this land of dreams that once could all come true. Now it's down to me and you. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. This can't be our destination. This has gotta be a better nation. Time to set the big horse racing. Trains are leaving from the station. Yeah, I got no reservation. Need a little investigation. This could be celebration. This could be celebration. This could be celebration. This could be celebration. This could be celebration now. In the pasture, just like me, he's seen his better days. But he sniffs the air this morning, and his eyes take on an old familiar blade. He kicks his heels and throws his head and looks right at me like I understood. But it's springtime in the country, and the pasture grass is greening up real good. There's a bullfrog in the bog behind my house. They've been making such a sound. Long late in the afternoon, right up till the evening sun goes down. And he's happy to be living the fiddleheads in the rotten wood. And it's springtime in the country, and the pasture grass is good. Raining up real good, looking mighty fine. Here with the sea, coming for a long time. Lost in the nothing to be loved, it's with me. Must be the artist in me, guess it's just the artist in me. Why am I amazed at the wonder of it all? I guess it's just the artist in me. Why am I alone even when I'm in a crowd? Must be the artist in me, this is just the artist in me. Why make my living being lonely right out loud? I guess it's just the artist in me. Why do I live on coffee and wine? Why do I have to keep all the time? How do I know that beauty will set me free? Why am I awake when the whole world's asleep? Must be the artist in me, guess it's just the artist in me. People throw away all the things I keep, I guess it's just the artist in me. Why do I seek these universal truths? Must be the artist in me, guess it's just the artist in me. Why do I still mourn all the heroes of my youth? I guess it's just the artist in me. Why do I live on coffee and wine? Why do I have to keep them all the time? How do I know that beauty will set me free? Why do I fly? Why do I fall? Must be the artist in me, guess it's just the artist in me. Why am I amazed and wondering all? I guess it's just the artist in me. Why am I my best when I'm right down to the wall? I guess it's just the artist in me. Thank you. Susan Ramsey, Mike Burd, Roy Clark, right there. We'd been told by McCausland that we should here find trout enough. So while some prepared to camp, the rest fell to fishing. Seizing the birch poles which some party of Indians or white hunters had left on the shore, and baiting our hooks with pork or with trout as soon as they were caught, we cast our lines into the mouth of the Abol Jack Nagesic, a clear, swift, shallow stream which came in from Katahdin. Instantly a shoal of white chiffon, silvery roaches, cousin trout, or whatnot, large and small, prowling thereabouts, fell upon our bait, and one after another were landed amidst the bushes. Anon, their cousins, the true trout, took their turn, and alternately the speckled trout and the silvery roaches swallowed the bait as fast as we could throw in, and the finest specimens of both that I've ever seen, the largest one weighing 3 pounds, heaved upon the shore. Though at first in vain to wriggle down into the water again, for we stood in the boat. But soon we learned to remedy this evil, for one who had lost his hook stood on the shore to catch them as they fell in a perfect shower around him. Sometimes wet and slippery, full in his face and bosom, as his arms were outstretched to receive them. While yet alive, before their tints had faded, they glistened like the fairest flowers, the product of primitive rivers. And and he could hardly trust his senses as he stood over them. Bet these jewels should have swam away in that Abel Jack Nagasic water for so long, so many dark ages. These bright fluviatal flowers, seen of Indians only, made beautiful the Lord only knows why, to swim there. I could understand better for this, the truth of mythology. The fables of Proteus and all those beautiful sea monsters, how all history indeed, put to a terrestrial use, is mere history. But put to a celestial, is mythology always. In the night I dreamed of trout fishing, and when at length I awoke, it seemed a fable that this painted fish swam there so near my couch and rose to our hooks the last evening, and I doubted if I had not dreamed at all. So I rose before dawn to test its truth while my companions were still sleeping. There stood Katahdin, a distinct and cloudless outline in the moonlight. And the rippling of the rapids was the only sound to break the stillness. Standing on the shore, I once more cast my line into the stream and found the dream to be real and the fable true. The speckled trout, silvery roach like flying fish, sped swiftly through the moonlight air, describing bright arcs on the dark side of Katahdin, until moonlight, now fading into daylight, brought satiety to my mind and to the minds of my companions who had joined me. Good night.